Maria Dawson couldn't ignore it anymore. For the third night in a row, the strange scratching sounds from inside her bedroom wall had awakened her at exactly 3:07 a.m. She stared at the dimly lit wall, listening to the faint but persistent tapping and scratching. "Just old house noises," she whispered to herself, pulling the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Maria was a 32-year-old single mother who had moved into this affordable older home with her 5-year-old daughter Luna just 2 months ago. After her divorce, finding a place within her budget had been challenging, and this 1940s craftsman-style house on the edge of town had seemed like a blessing despite needing some cosmetic updates. The realtor had mentioned that the previous owners had moved away suddenly after a family tragedy, but Maria hadn't pressed for details. A fresh start was what she and Luna needed. As the scratching continued, Maria reached for her phone to record the sound, wondering if she should call an exterminator. Mice, perhaps, but the noises seemed too deliberate. Sometimes there was a pause, then 3 quick taps, then more scratching. By morning, the sounds had stopped, and in the brightness of day, Maria's concerns seemed silly. Luna was happily eating her breakfast, chattering about kindergarten and her imaginary friends. "Mommy, can I have extra cheese today?" Luna asked, her big brown eyes serious. "Extra cheese? You barely eat what I give you now," Maria replied, brushing Luna's dark curls away from her face. "It's not for me, it's for my friend," Luna said matter-of-factly. Maria smiled. Luna's imagination had always been vivid. "And which friend is that, sweetie?" "The one in the walls, the one who's sad and hungry." A chill ran down Maria's spine, but she kept her smile fixed in place. Children and their imaginations. Still, combined with the noises. That evening, Maria noticed Luna carefully placing a small piece of cheese and some chicken from her dinner plate into a napkin. "What are you doing with that food, Luna?" Maria asked, trying to keep her voice casual. "Saving it for later," Luna replied, avoiding eye contact in the way she did when she wasn't being entirely truthful. After tucking Luna into bed, Maria waited. Sure enough, when she peeked into her daughter's room an hour later, Luna was kneeling by the baseboard in the corner of her room, carefully pushing tiny bits of food through a small crack where the wall met the floor. "Luna, what are you doing out of bed?" Maria asked, startling her daughter. Luna jumped, looking guilty. "I was just feeding my friend, Mommy, the one who's trapped." "Trapped? What do you mean trapped?" Maria asked, sitting down next to her daughter. "In the walls. She's been there a long time, and she's very hungry and scared. She taps to talk to me." Maria felt goosebumps rising on her arms. "How do you know it's a she, sweetie?" "She told me. Not with words, but I just know. She feels like a girl. A sad girl who's lost something important." That night, the tapping started again at 3:07 a.m. But this time, Maria noticed something she hadn't before. The tapping seemed to be moving, from her bedroom wall, down the hallway, to Luna's room. She followed the sound, pressing her ear against the wall at different points. The next morning, Maria called a contractor. Pete, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, arrived that afternoon to inspect the walls. "Old houses like this often have all sorts of quirks," Pete said as he tapped along the wall with his knuckles, listening for hollow spots. "Could be anything from pipes to critters." "My daughter thinks there's someone trapped in there," Maria said with a nervous laugh. "A friend who needs food." Pete raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. He continued his inspection until he reached the corner of Luna's room where she had been feeding her friend. "There's something odd about this section," he said, kneeling down to examine the baseboard. "This part of the wall sounds different. And look here. There's been a renovation. See how the baseboard doesn't quite match?" Pete returned the next day with proper tools. "I'll need to cut into the drywall to see what's going on," he explained. "There might be a space behind here that wasn't properly sealed during a previous renovation." As Pete carefully cut a small section of drywall away, Maria stood nervously watching. Luna was at kindergarten, and Maria was almost glad. What if they found something disturbing? "I'm seeing some sort of small compartment," Pete said, shining his flashlight into the hole. "Something was definitely walled in during that renovation. Wait, there's movement in there." Maria's heart raced. "Movement? What do you mean?" Pete's expression changed to one of surprise. It's a cat. There's a cat in there." With careful maneuvering and a pair of gloves, Pete gently extracted a severely emaciated grey cat from the wall cavity. The poor creature was barely alive, its fur matted and its body frighteningly thin. Around its neck was a faded blue collar. Maria gasped. "Oh my God! How long has it been in there? The previous owners moved out over 6 months ago." "The poor thing must have crawled into an opening during renovations and got sealed in," Pete said, cradling the weakened animal. "It's amazing it survived this long. Must have been catching mice and drinking condensation from pipes." They rushed the cat to the nearest veterinary clinic, where Dr. Bennett immediately took the frail creature for emergency treatment. "This cat is severely malnourished and dehydrated," Dr. Bennett explained later. "But cats are incredibly resilient. With proper care, there's a good chance of recovery." As the veterinary team worked on the cat, Maria noticed something on the collar and asked to examine it. The tag was tarnished but still legible. It read "Whisper" on one side, and on the other was a date that made Maria's blood run cold, 10/15/2019, Luna's exact birth date. "Is something wrong?" Dr. Bennett asked, noticing Maria's shocked expression. "This date, it's my daughter's birthday," Maria whispered. That evening, when Maria picked Luna up from her after-school program, she carefully explained what they had found in the wall. "Her name is Whisper," Luna said confidently before Maria could mention the name on the collar. "I told you she was trapped." Maria felt a chill. "How did you know her name, Luna?" "She told me," Luna replied simply. "In my dreams." Over the next few days, as Whisper received treatment at the veterinary clinic, Maria began asking neighbors about the previous owners of their house. Mrs. Grantham, an elderly woman who had lived on the street for decades, provided the heartbreaking story. The Morgans lost their daughter, Rebecca, on October 15, 2019, Mrs. Grantham explained. "A car accident. She was only 23. They were devastated, couldn't bear to stay in the house afterward. Their cat disappeared around the same time, right when they were having some renovations done. They looked everywhere, but never found it. They always said that Cat had a special connection with Rebecca, would sit outside her room whenever she was sick, even as a child." Maria sat stunned, processing the information. The same day Luna was born, another family had lost their daughter, and somehow their cat had been sealed into the wall of the very same house, surviving against all odds until Luna started feeding it through the crack. A week later, Whisper was well enough to be released from the veterinary clinic. Dr. Bennett called it a miracle of survival. When Maria brought Whisper home, Luna wasn't surprised at all. She simply sat on the floor, and the still weak cat immediately crawled into her lap. "She's not sad anymore," Luna said, gently stroking the cat's fur. She found what she was looking for. Later that night, for the first time in weeks, the house was silent at 3:07 a.m. No scratching, no tapping, just the soft purring of Whisper, who had taken up position outside Luna's door. Maria tried to contact the Morgans to tell them about their cat's miraculous survival, but learned they had moved across the country. She sent them photos and offered to return Whisper, but they responded that they believed everything happens for a reason. "Please keep her," Mrs. Morgan wrote. "Our daughter Rebecca always said Whisper could sense when someone needed protection. It seems she's found her new purpose with your family." In the months that followed, Maria noticed how Whisper would always position herself between Luna and any potential danger, sitting between her and the hot stove, or standing guard when Luna played in the yard. The cat who had survived the impossible had become Luna's faithful guardian. Maria often thought about the strange timing of it all, how Luna was born on the exact day Rebecca Morgan died, how they had moved into the Morgans' former home, and how Whisper had somehow survived inside the walls until Luna arrived. Some connections transcend understanding, Dr. Bennett had said when Maria shared the full story. In my years of veterinary practice, I've seen animals do extraordinary things that science can't fully explain. One evening, as Maria watched Luna and Whisper sleeping peacefully together, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. On Whisper's collar tag, worn but still visible on the edge, was a tiny engraved butterfly, the same butterfly Luna had been drawing obsessively since she was old enough to hold a crayon. The strange noises that had once frightened Maria in the darkness now seemed like something else entirely. Not just desperate pleas for help, but a determined spirit finding its way home, guided by connections beyond human understanding. Sometimes, she thought, the things that go bump in the night aren't what we should fear. Sometimes they're trying to tell us something important, if only we have the courage to listen and break down the walls between us.